2019年嘅奧斯卡最佳紀錄片長片獎得獎者金國威同佢妻子伊麗莎白柴瓦沙瑞莉3年前憑徒手攀岩奪獎。佢哋嘅新片《回到太空》於4月7日喺網飛平台推出。《回到太空》講述馬斯克同太空探險技術公司嘅一班工程師開始咗一項歷史性任務，佢哋要令到美國國家航空航天局嘅宇航員重返國際太空站，並徹底改變太空旅行。美國華人職業登山家、職業滑雪者、攝影師及電影導演金國威表示
：We are always interested in stories about the human potential and the human ingenuity and capacity to face kind of impossible challenges. We also were very interested in kind of the genesis of this new era of space travel. And we, of course, always love characters that are can be unlikely heroes or have the ability to achieve the impossible.
講到太空對佢哋嘅意義嘅時候，紀錄片製片人伊麗莎白柴瓦沙瑞莉話
It's interesting because really this was about like the human relationship to space. And I have to say, having spent so much time with like some of the greatest thinkers who are now working in space, working on these issues, like the engineers, it always came back to the same thing. Same with astronauts, is that it's that point of view from space of Earth that only underlines how fragile and precious Earth is. And that's where we ended up too. Is like we have like this is a new era in the human relationship to space. We are dependent on space in so many different ways, but it always will be in service of Earth.
So I just wonder, what are the challenges when you shoot this documentary?
Well, we began filming in the end of 2019. So the pandemic hit in the middle of production, and that was very challenging because the stakes were so high. Like the astronauts had to be kept, they had to quarantine already. So they had like a 3-month quarantine, and our access was complicated by COVID, which created like great opportunities. Like we were able to ask the astronauts to film themselves. So the footage ended up being very intimate and like these really nice windows into their home life. Likewise, the pandemic also, like everyone was trying to help us because of the constraints. So we were able to work very closely with SpaceX and NASA to get what material that we needed.
講到紀錄片中最感動自己嘅部分嘅時候，伊麗莎白柴瓦沙瑞莉話
Well, there was a point where we were going to, we would joke around in our edit room saying we should call this Dads in Space. Because like Doug and Bob are such different like portraits of an astronaut than Neil Armstrong was. Like both Doug and Bob are married to 2 female astronauts who are excellent in their own right. They both are dads of like young boys. And that idea that, Doug's wife, Karen, and Bob's wife, Megan, knew the stakes because they had also been to space as their husbands went up. And likewise, when, their husbands had witnessed them going to space, and understanding the human risk was very moving.